Thanks, Dina, for the introduction. Again, Kalon Welch, EVP of Business Development, co-owner of FastSensor. We'll talk a little bit about what the company does just so you guys get a taste. But really what I'm here to talk about is something kind of interesting that Sunir and I talked about, and that's how do we use IoT and different types of sort of alternative partnerships to build business, period. And really how to think differently and to understand how to go into a space that's very traditional in some senses and flip it on its head. I was able to do that because I had no idea what I was doing, and that's the truth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. My path of partnership, I was told to talk to you about my path, what I've done. So I came out of UCLA, worked in Anderson Consulting before it was Accenture, and then during the crossover period, and did communications and high-tech, electronics and high-tech work, and a lot of strategy development for a lot of software companies, frankly. Worked with companies like Novell, worked a lot in the Bay Area and helped build licensing strategies and figure out how to go to market and frankly built partnership models for them. So it was an interesting and fun time. Mostly what I learned from that experience was how to think consultatively instead of thinking about selling stuff, thinking about solving problems, and thinking about working with your partners and or customers. To me, they're one and the same, and figuring out to do things differently and again solve problems for them or their partners and customers. Okay, I then left that world after hating life for a couple years and working way too much. Jumped into a small agency that was acquired by Omnicom. We helped with the acquisition, took that company from about $4 million to about $100 million in about, well, a number of years. Did that primarily through partnerships. What we did, just to give you a taste because it'll make sense as this goes through, is that instead of selling a software package to a partner, in this instance it was companies like Best Buy and Walmart and about 30 other retailers, we were trying to sell learning management systems to brands, Microsoft and the HPs and the IBM Dells. And after watching my sales team go do that and beat their heads against the wall because we were a small company that nobody ever heard of, I realized that the power was in the partner. The power was in the retailer. The retailers control the space. And when they say jump, their manufacturers, no matter how big they are, say how high. So I called it the bully strategy. And I said, well, if this is the bully, I want to be next to the bully. I want to walk around the playground floor and shake other people down for their money, which is what bullies do. Not kidding, that was actually the concept. So we created partnerships with retailers instead of trying to sell to manufacturers. And one of the first ones we did in the early stages was Best Buy. And we came in and, interestingly enough, kicked Accenture out using their own contract. Sorry if anyone's in here from Accenture. They're a partner of ours now, by the way, so we're friends again. And we took over learning management systems and platforms. At that point in time, they started opening doors to other retailers. They started calling us. The long-term story is that through partnerships, we built a network and a referral and lead source that came back to selling our company's software. Okay, so it's the first kind of lesson I learned. It was very, very successful. We built a network, and we wound up doing many tens of millions of dollars in this space at extremely high margins, selling software with really no competition, because there was no competition because we had locked down the partner. So again, partnership, partnership, partnership. It works if you set it up right and you figure out who has the economic engine that will drive your business. You can build a relationship with them to benefit them and ultimately drive your company forward, okay? And I'm gonna pause and make sure that you guys all know that you can raise your hand or just speak up. There's like 10 of us in here, and if I sit here and talk all day, I'm gonna go to sleep. So please jump in. You guys in the back if you wanna come up, but let's make this a discussion. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I don't know everything, I promise, and let's engage, okay? From there, left that business after about 15 years and started a cell phone manufacturing company, as crazy as that is, and decided I would enter into the hardware space with a partner, business partner of mine. And again, instead of going to try to sell our product to everybody, I looked at it differently and said, who needs this from a partnership perspective? How can I open a door to a partner that brings me to my customer? We did that successfully, and through a partnership with a brand that we decided to license, we actually sold the business to them in about 2 years, and it was very successful. That business just launched at CES a couple months ago. From there, jumped into FastSensor and said, wow, this technology is amazing. I didn't invent it, my partner did. Came out of Brazil in 2013 and said, how do we take this to the marketplace in America and beyond? And we wanted to launch it globally. So moved the company to America in 2016, looked at the space. We actually met Dina and SaaS Max at that time and helped shape some of our early go-to-market strategies, and ultimately created what is now FastSensor and our go-to-market strategy, and it's all focused around partnership again. You'll notice that theme. Any questions so far? Yes?
When you was working with the retailer or these other partnerships,
Yep.
why? Why you? Was it, did you incentivize them? Was it the product? Did you, people you brought to bear? What was was there a magic bullet, or was it a combination?
Leverage. So network. So what we did at the time was, and I had images up on the board that I was presenting to the CEO, and it said, multi-headed dragon. And if I have Best Buy as my only partner, and HP comes to me and says, how much does it cost to reach Best Buy? Best Buy knows what it costs to reach Best Buy, and they're going to take that money from me because they're in power. But if I had Best Buy, Walmart, Costco, Sears, Fry's, and 20 others, and I sold them a network and a SaaS product via a network play, nobody could put a pinpoint on how much it costs for them. And they all knew that if we were selling the network, that there was no specific dollar associated with them. They were getting something that was free on the retailer side. So that was the big trick that we did, is that we kicked Accenture out, who was charging them $1 million a year, and said, I'm going to give it to you for free and build you a platform. In exchange, you're going to open doors to all your partners, your clients, your vendors. But I'm going to do that with 15 to 20. Actually, we did over 35. I did in about 5 years. And so we built a network. Nobody could really see what's going on. We were able to extract some amazing value for our partners. We weren't fleecing people. We built something that was just smarter and better and resold the same product. So if you were a manufacturer, you got to take a one-stop shop and support your entire retailer channel. And if you were a retailer, you got to have a one-stop shop to get all of your vendors' content. Does that make sense? Any other questions? It doesn't work anymore because they figured it out, by the way, and eventually sniffed out the money and said, we're going to take control over it and do it ourselves. That's one of the reasons I left. But we had a good run. All right, so moving forward into FastSensor. Who's familiar with AI and machine learning? Anybody ever heard of this? Good. So what we're doing is taking AI and machine learning and applying it now to in-store consumer electronics, or consumer behavior and shopper analytics type of solutions. And this is a little quote from CIO, says, behavioral analytics is unlocking a new frontier of data that can be presented to decision makers within a more actionable context, blah, blah, blah. What does this really mean is that people have data from all different sources, and they have it until, frankly, the cows come home and they don't know what to do with it. And there's so much information out there that nobody gets, again, what the applications are. They don't understand the value. And so what we're doing is taking AI and machine learning and applying it to behavioral analytics, and then sharing with these same types of retailers that I worked with in my past, what does their customer look like? How do they engage? How do they shop? Are they in the mindset to shop? And effectively, if you think about what Amazon is doing online, using big data, AI, machine learning to study people's behavior, we're doing that in brick and mortar environments with FastSensor. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, talk very quickly about how it works. This is not a commercial, but hopefully you're interested in what it does. And this is another part of the theme of the track here, is that we're using sort of an IoT product to create partnerships that are unique to sell software. We are a SaaS company in disguise, we like to say, but a lot of people think we're a hardware company. Some people think we're a sensor company. The old company that I helped build, they thought we were a training company. We were none of that. We were a marketing company, and we had a different model, okay? So what FastSensor does is we take a dumb sensor. It's basically a radio frequency scanner, a little bit bigger than this. We put it in an environment, and it harvests MAC addresses from all of your personal devices that you're emitting. You've got cell phones, you've got Apple Watches, you've got tablets and laptops. All of them have unique identifiers attached to them. We take all of that information from multiple sensor sources, and we do a process called RF Trilateration. What that means is that, much like triangulation with GPS technology in outdoor environments, we can locate the signal. And so what we say is that we can hit a 95 to 99% passive penetration, no awareness, no opt-in, no download, no specific technology turn on, and we can locate you down to 1 square meter of accuracy. Period. Interesting. Okay, who cares? What does it mean? How do you take that data? How do you turn it into business intelligence? So we harvest it at the local level, And then instead of working with the retailers and or other customers like Staples Center, if you've ever been to Los Angeles, AEG is a partner of ours, we're tracking people in the Staples Center. But instead of getting on their network and taking a year, which it used to take me in my past life to get the data from the local environment up into the cloud, so to speak, we bring our own network to the table. So T-Mobile actually approached us. I'm not supposed to say their name, sorry. Back that up. The Magenta carrier, the MVNO, and we take the data and we directly shoot it to the cloud, and therefore we bypass the entire IT department with anybody we work with. So we used a partner in the form of an MVNO that we were able to bypass a huge, huge, huge barrier to sales in the organization. And that used to take 12 to 18 months. And if any of you have ever heard of or worked with Target or Home Depot or otherwise, and you know about data breaches and how sensitive a topic this is these days, you understand how big of a deal that is. So again, this will start to come full circle. So we took a partner to solve a major problem. Then we take the AI and machine learning algorithms, which are hosted in the cloud. We host on AWS, on Google, on Azure. It depends on what the customer wants. And we process all of these vectors, and we ultimately are able to discern, based on behavior, who's a customer, who's an employee, what's a fixed asset like a TV on the wall that emits RF, and we ultimately can create analytics like these dashboards, and we can provide that directly to the customer so they can help manage their business, or we can just feed them via API. Okay? Any questions on the solution so far? This all makes sense?
What is the output that's coming out of the data? Say, for example, I'm walking through an aisle, how much time I spend at an aisle, or my heat maps of where I'm looking and stuff.
Sure.
Like that. What are the outputs that are coming through?
Sure. Question is, what are the outputs of the data that's coming through? So very simple metrics. Most of what our customers are looking for are simple things like walk-by traffic, conversion into the store, attraction rate, dwell time, conversion between areas. But if you're walking through an aisle at a store that we're tracking, we literally know how many times you walked past the front door, when you came in, where did you go, how long you stood there for, down to 1 square meter of accuracy, which means we can create heat maps. And we know everybody is, so we can literally cover and demonstrate the flow and the customer traffic of that entire environment. What that means is, what are people interested in? What do they care about? What are they not? And it's a gap, we call it customer journey, that exists in a major way today. People have point of sale data, people have other information from door counters, for example, and everything in between is a big question mark. Does that answer your question?
It does. But one more question is, if you don't know the profile of the person that's coming in, maybe
Yep.
we have other data sources to identify who the person is. It might not be PA, but say, for example, if it's an iPhone XS, somebody who's 4 feet tall or something like that, you know that it's a kid. You can make some assumptions around that, right? So do you also do that?
Yeah, so the question is, I think I'm going to get it, I'll say it back again, but what is the information we have? Do we understand any of the demographic profile of the customer coming in? In general, we don't. Our platform was built to be globally compliant. We are able to run in Australia and California with the upcoming laws. We're GDPR compliant, so we operate all over Europe. Ultimately, everything on our platform is non-PII because we don't know who you are until you opt in. So if you opt in, yes, we know who you are. Loyalty programs, captive portals, all kinds of different ways to get opt-ins. At that point, we know who you are. What we can do external to our platform is start to correlate the data. And you made an astute comment. You can't take 2 different forms of non-PII and create PII. It's a big no-no in the space. So for example, you can't slide a credit card, know that that is Joe, and then I can put Joe standing in front of that terminal and figure out who Joe is. Big no-no. So you have to be very careful with this, and you have to also choose your partners carefully, or you can get yourself in trouble quickly. Did that answer your question?
No, with aggregated data,
Yep.
so you can make profiles out of people. Right?
Yes.
You may not have the exact name. It may not be Joe.
Yes.
But it's a male 20 to 30.
We actually don't know you're a male. All we know is that you behave like a certain type of profile. It could be a browser, an engager, an experiencer, a purchaser. So we use AI, machine learning, and deep learning to study behaviors and then look for patterns, of course, which is what AI is good for. And then we can create customer profiles without knowing who the customers are. And that's actually the power of the data.
And then give some examples of what that data is showing, like where they
Sure.
are, how often they come by.
Sure. So what that data ultimately demonstrates is what do these people look like and what are they going to do? And we can start to create predictive analytics. You have a lot of customers interested in, at a cannabis dispensary, which we have a lot of customers in that space, believe it or not, tinctures versus flower. But the point of sale system tells you that everybody buys flower. And we're telling you that your customers come into your store and spend 15 minutes looking at all your tinctures but never buy anything. What does that mean? Should I get rid of tinctures? No, it means I should actually double down on training, associate, behavior, customer interaction, educational programs, marketing and awareness, so people are more likely to buy that because there's interest, but the POS is lying to you because they didn't buy it. Does that help? Question?
Super question. So if I opt in, so you know who I am in
Yep.
Best Buy, do you know who I am at Walmart?
I do not. Technically I do, but I'm not allowed to. So you can't cross customer data across the different areas. But great question. Do you have a question? Okay.
The same thing for Mac is how do you know who the person is you answer?
Yeah, you do not. So all passive. So I'll jump forward because I don't want to go too deep into this. I want to talk gives you some things you can take away with. But I wanted you to understand the basic solution so you understand how we work and why. Okay? So I like to say we don't know what we're doing and it's working because we jumped into this space. I had never built a VAR or channel partner program. I built global sales teams and managed partnership programs and did lots of business in the past life. Came into the space and started fumbling around, right? We worked with some good partners, knocked our head against the wall for a very long time and started to find little things that worked, and like our software does, started looking for behavioral patterns that we could identify and said, well, this type of person, this type of partner is a good partner for us because of X. And what we started to look for is, where do we complement? I really don't do well with partners who just raise their hand and say, I want to go sell your stuff, right? Because they don't get it. Where we work well with is partners who we have a complementary technology that we can build something and integrate and be stronger in taking them to market, which means they're always going to drag us to market. So that's one of the takeaways I want you guys to think about. A lot of this stuff is obvious, but some of us miss it and don't think about it enough. Look for the partners that you complement and make stronger. If you can give first, you're going to get back. And if you can give, they're going to take you with. And that's one of the areas that we found success in, okay? So we like to say we're a SaaS company in disguise. There's a lot of cloud-based software companies here, and we are sort of one of those, but we have this IoT hardware component, and it's a hindrance because it's slower to go to market. I wish I could just sell software, but I have to harvest the data to make sense of it. And as much as that's been painful, it's also been a blessing because a bunch of distributors started calling us and saying, hey, this is really cool. My customers need this. I want to sell them a bunch of your sensors. And we said, we don't sell sensors. And they were like, why not? Because we're a SaaS company. But are you sure? And then we would say, would you like to distribute my sensors? You can make $1 a piece. How many are you going to sell per retailer? 5 per store. Okay, so I made $5,000 selling to Best Buy. Doesn't sound very interesting to a distributor, right? But then we said, well, wait a minute. But Best Buy is your customer. One of your resellers has a relationship in there. What if we figure out a better way to work together? And so we started iterating, trying different things after meeting a bunch of the resellers and said, this doesn't exactly fit. They're not getting it. It's too complex of a solution. So I'll come to the punchline in a couple minutes on the next slide, but we changed the model and we changed the way that we engage with them. But we opened the door to a major, major partner, and we've got multiple now that are working with us because they think we're something that we're not. So there's a lesson there, and for all of us, is that don't think the same way. Think different. When you figure out how to go to market, don't follow the same track that everybody else has. Mix it up, bounce off walls, try stuff, fail constantly, and figure out what's going to work for you. Everyone in here, I hope, has failed. If not, then you're not trying hard enough. We have failed so many times, but we started to find little things that work, and again, started looking for patterns. And then we started repeating those patterns, and it's starting to come together, okay? The other thing I want to say is that we created a bunch of Trojan horses in talking to these people. We realized that calling large retailers with 5,000 stores at a time, they don't really take your phone calls. I knew this from the past. I never once broke into a new retailer in my past life by calling them. I tried one time just for fun with my boss 15 years ago. And we said, we're going to call Target. We're going to call everybody we can at Target. Didn't work. We knew it. So instead, we went to a partner and we said, Sony, you're a customer of ours. I want to help you reach target. You can help me by me helping you open a door. And they did. And I did about 10 more deals in that process with the same partner. That's how I got into Walmart, Costco, and about 8 others, okay? We did the same thing here. We started looking at these partners that were struggling to sell us, and then we said, guys, let's go it a little bit differently. You're a point of sale company, you sell hardware. You want to sell FastSensor, but you don't know how. But if we share with your partner, and I'll just use a random example, you just sold 2,000 point of sale systems to Sephora. Why don't you call them back and tell them that you have an add-on and a complementary product to this thing you just sold them? Because they'll listen to you. You just want to deal with them. You've just implemented, you've created value. And so they started doing that, and we said, tell them we can do queue management for them. So they would call and say, I've got this new product, it's an add-on to what I just sold you. We're going to be able to tell you how many people are in line in front of that point of sale terminal. And they said, oh my God, tell me about it. So then we showed up and said, sort of surprise, we don't actually have to integrate with the point of sale, but if we add a couple more sensors, we can tell you everything happening in your store. And they went, oh wow, that's amazing. Let me take a look at that. So again, we started breaking into these large retailers, not by calling them, not by having another reseller partner say, hey, check out this new thing. We just found Trojan Horses. So I've probably got 5 or 6 examples of Trojan Horses where partners open a door by using a complementary add-on and service to what they've already sold them, and they are unlocking recurring revenue streams. And especially for hardware partners, for all of the software people in the room, hardware is sold in, there's a relationship, there's an integration, there's an installation, there's a relationship built. If you can leverage a hardware partner, then you're more likely often to sell your software. And that's what we've learned, and it's starting to work. Questions on that? Go ahead.
What's the typical commercial model with the hardware sellers? Is it a referral commission, or it will be
We do everything from referral. The question was, what is the commercial model with the partners? We do everything, and we're mostly doing a lot of referrals these days. We just give them 10% lifetime value. And for a hardware manufacturer or a distributor that's making 2%, 4%, maybe 8%, all of a sudden to see 10% of multi-million-dollar revenue stream for doing nothing but opening a door and saying, I've got this new thing, and then co-selling with them, even though they're selling it, you're really doing it, and that's what my team does, then they have all of a sudden got this revenue stream that they've never seen before. And they're all looking for recurring revenue. So again, for all the software people in the room, find a hardware company that's hurting, that has companies that you want to talk to, and figure out how you open doors together, and it's the Trojan horse model. Okay? Other questions so far? Okay. All right. Oh, look at that. Great questions, guys. So last couple things here. These are just examples of other people. You've kind of got the whole story. These are all different examples of partners that were non-traditional that opened doors. We put 25,000 stores in our pipeline with an augmented reality company. True story. They sell AR. Nothing to do with what we do, but we built something for them. They opened doors. MVNOs, our partner, started opening doors for us because every time we sell, they sell. Okay? Consultancies, we said, hey, guys, you want to sell more consulting services? Sell my data to your customer and you'll sell more consulting. Now we're working with my old company. Distributors, we talked about, and then 3PL installation companies, companies that wanted to install our stuff. We said, go bring me a customer, and then you can install it, and now we're working with a bunch of install companies, okay? So again, think different. I'm gonna wrap up here, those are just examples. Think different, partner with your customers. The last piece comment I'll make is that customers open doors to new customers, so why not make a customer referral source? Every time we get a customer, we say, who else do you know that looks like us, or that looks like you, that needs what we have, and we pay them. All of a sudden, the relationship changes, we start making them money, and that's how the chain is built, okay? And think from a consultant's perspective, all of your partnership should have value exchange, make sure it's not one way, and most importantly, build relationships and have fun, and that's how you get business done. That's it.